Hello once again, it's Mike. How are you guys doing today? So I'm going to finish my story that I've been promising on almost drowning in a cave. So, when I was in my early 20s, me and a few friends of mine, Dan Kurt, John Dadian, and Timothy Brown, we used to go to these caves. Me and John were big into cave exploring, right? Very cool thing to do. For those of you that do or don't know, underground has glaciers underground. They're like these rock formations that grow out of the ceiling. And I had all these ones from about this long to this long. And when you cracked them open, they had crystals all inside of them, right? So I had all these crystals that I'd saved. And when I was in my 20s, and going back 20 plus years ago, I had no idea about crystals and their energies and none of that kind of stuff, right? I was just always drawn to them. I had a crystal collection when I was in my late teens. I just liked them, right? So, anyways, so long story short, we go cave exploring, right? When we get to the cave, let me explain what the cave is like and how neat and cool of an experience this is, right? So you get to this place, you park your car, you get out, you walk right over to this hole in the ground. There's like a cylinder, okay? The outside is like a huge circle, and it's probably 20 feet in diameter all the way around the circle, right? Imagine 20 feet. And it starts out in this big, huge hole in the ground, and it goes down, like I said, into a cylinder, right? It goes all the way down into a small hole in the ground, right? And like a 300-pound person couldn't get in this. So it comes down to a cylinder, and it comes down to a little hole, and you have to get down or shivvy in, and like the hole's so small, like, you know, your chest and your clothes is going to touch earth as you're either sliding in or crawling. However you get in there, you know, there's just enough room for your body to crawl through this hole. And you get through this hole, and as soon as you do, you go like just, you know, maybe a foot or so, and it opens up and it turns into this big room, right? It's like a long corridor, and the ceiling's pretty low. It's probably like less than 8 feet. Like you can put your hand up and touch the ceiling, right? But you're underground. It's freezing cold. You have to be dressed to the gill. You know what I'm saying? For people that don't know, underground is like freezing cold, right? So we get down into this cave, and we have our flashlights, and you can't see that good, right? So the three of us have flashlights, and we're going through this corridor, and you get to this part where there's like all that it is like a wall, right? And across the wall is like a walkway, and you're basically walking on piece like as long as your shoe, and you have to, like, you know, crawl across this area. It's very dangerous. We had done it before. I'd been past it a few times, but for some reason this time we went, it was slippery. And as we were crossing this little pathway, I slid. And I slid probably 10 feet, like at a, you know, the incline was so much you couldn't keep your ground. So I fell 15 feet this way, and fell off another 15 feet and hit water, okay? I'm wearing an army jacket, army boots. I was dressed to the gill, you know, it's freezing cold down there, so, you know, you want to be dressed very warm. An army jacket, combat boots, and something else, and I fell into the water, and we had flashlights on us, right? Well, when I hit the water, I lost my flashlight. It went under me. It must have hit bottom or something, because it stayed on, and my flashlight was illuminating me, right? So flashlight's underneath me, and it's lighting up, and all I can see is that the water's lit up, right? But I can't see, you know, too much further ahead. My friends are up at, like, you know, at a like up on top of a cliff, basically, to where I am, right? Well, I start treading for water, and I'm treading around, and I'm trying to find a place to get up, right? It's like this big, huge open area of nothing, and I have no light visibility, so I'm not fixing to go to where I can't even see all of it. The area that I could see in, there was a wall, literally, like this, and I'm crawling onto this wall. I'm climbing up, and it's muddy rocks, and I keep sliding back into the water. I climb up, I keep sliding back, I keep sliding. Like this happens over and over again. Now my legs are going numb because it's freezing cold. Even if it wasn't freezing cold, my legs would be going numb now anyways, just treading water for 15, 20 minutes. So now I'm starting to panic, and I'm holding on for dear life. And out of nowhere, here comes a voice. My friends are up there. They're, on top of this, like, mountain thing. And, there's nothing they can do for me. So we're talking back and forth. They're trying to keep me calm. And then we hear this voice. And these two guys come out of nowhere, like, a godsend, right? Two guys, strangers, come out of nowhere, and they have rope. So the odds of that are, slim to none. That saved my life. I'm not going to say I for sure would have or not, but if they didn't show up, I can't tell you that I would have lived through it. I could have drowned. Like I said, there was no way out. I was stuck on a cliff. I kept sliding. There was no way in. I would have had to hang on long enough for them to go get the police, fire department, whatever. I was freaking out. It was scary. It was traumatizing. I couldn't get in the water for years after that. It literally traumatized me. So, anywho, these guys come in, they have rope, they load down the rope, and they pull me up, and thank God they pull me to safety. And, it scared the living shit out of me. But, the dumb kid punk that I was, that wasn't the last time I'd be in those caves. So, when that happened, I obviously freaked and, wanted out of there. Ran out of the cave as soon as I got up. And it was freezing cold. It was summertime. So I come outside out of the cave, and my buddies give me some blankets and stuff, but I'm ready to go home. We're done that day, right? So maybe months, maybe a year's gone by, and now my friends are trying to pump me up, trying to get me to overcome my fear and go back and get past this cave. 'Cause this cave was, fabulous. It was, if you guys are old enough to remember the episodes of Scooby Doo when they were in a cave and they were by a lake, that's what this thing wound up to be. So, um, my attempts at it obviously didn't stop me from continuing. So we went back. It was months or a year later. We had ropes. We had everything. Like I said, I really didn't want to go. But my friends, kind of embarrassed me and bullied me into doing it again, which I'm glad we did, because when we did it the next time, we had, proper gear and ropes, and I had to remember having rope tied around me and having to have them around my friends, like guaranteed, if something happens, somebody's coming with me this time. So we make it across this time, and we walk across like this. Like I said, it's like a mountain, and you get across and you walk down like a dirt hill, and it comes to like a V, almost like a V in a road. You come to a V, and it looked very similar to like there was a video game board in like 007 or something, and you're shooting each other, and you're going through caves. It looked just like that. If you're old enough to happen to know what I'm talking about, they did a 007 video game. It had very similar graphics to what it was like. So you come to like this Y in the road, right? And you go down this way, you go that way. It didn't matter. Either way you went down, you came down to a beach, right? So now you're on a beach. It's just like a beach, it's like sandy. It was sand, and there's a water right there. And I didn't know it earlier because, this was probably 20 yards, 30 yards, maybe longer away from where I was. But like I said, when I fell in the first time, I had no idea none of this. So I later found out that when you come down to the beach, I was like really like 10 feet away. If I would have known that, it would have been okay, but I didn't. So I learned the hard way. So we get down to the beach, and we're down there chilling out, and they got rafts and inner tubes, and like this is like, you know, we didn't discover this. You see what I'm saying? Like people have been doing this for a long, long time. This is caves in Gainesville, Georgia. Okay, well this is like one of the coolest places I've ever been in my life, and these were in my early 20s when I was experimenting with drugs, and we did drugs down there. We smoked some marijuana, we took some acid down there. It was a good time. Uh, you would, if you smoked in the cave, when you first walk in, the ceiling's like only a few feet above your head. But when you smoke a cigarette or smoke anything, the smoke just kind of just stagnates and just stays there, like right in your face. You'll be in this room and you'll literally be just smoked out and can hardly see your friend a couple of feet away from you. It's pretty intense. Cool. It's a cool deal. But so this place was really nice, really captivating. Okay, but that's not even all to it. So once you're done in that little area vicinity, like I said, we found a beach. We found where I nearly drowned was like what would you call it? Like a lazy river or something, right? Like you could take an inner tube. You could take an inner tube raft and go around this thing. It was like you were going around the center of the earth type deal. Remarkable. It was amazing. And when you got down to the beach, and when you first come in, you're at a certain level of height, right? Well, then imagine if you fell down and you went down to the water level, now you're like 30 plus feet from where you were at the entrance. Okay, so now you're at the beach and you flash your flashlight up, and the ceiling's like 40, 50, 60 feet tall, right? And like I explained, there's glaciers underground, and when your flashlight's hitting them, you're sparking, like looks like you're flashing gems. It's really neat. It's beautiful, remarkable. I advise anybody that has any interest in it all to take that, you know, do that in your lifetime. So when you come up out of this cave, we later found out there's another entrance. There's another entrance to the same cave. Okay, you go around the main road in Gainesville. You go out to like another area, and you have to come around. You come on the back side of it, right? Like you could never imagine from the road putting two and two together to know that there was a cave there. Okay, so the one area is like you come off the road, and literally you'll be looking straight, and it's not until you get a couple of feet up on it before you see the hole. So you can't see none of this from the road. It's not just advertised. So finding that was cool, but then we had been a time or two, and I don't know how we figured it out or whatnot, but the other side of the cave was just this huge mouth, right? Like imagine like a concrete oval garage door. Envision with me now. The mouth to this thing was like 50 foot high, 50-foot high ceiling, at least 20, 30 feet sideways, enough for 10 cars easy to be like right next to each other. Not the long way, but thin wise. About 10 cars could be parked, okay? That's how big the mouth of this cave was going in. And it was just an oval ceiling. And you walk into this thing, and there's tire tracks, and there's beer bottles, and there's cigarette packs, Doritos, you know it. La da 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 da. Come to find out, this place they used to hold concerts down there. This little underground, if you're underground but you're really still on the same level as ground, is like the size of almost the size of a football field. Okay, imagine a football field, like a drive-in movie theater. Okay, the mouth of this thing is like the ceiling. The start of the formation of rock is like 30 feet in the air at least high, and the mouth is like 30 feet wide, but the length of this thing is like a football field. Okay, and there's tire marks and mud through entirely through the whole thing. Okay, just dirt and mud and trash, right? But you're in a covered in mouth. Okay, and then you got the one entrance that you walk in behind. Okay, and you go all the way to the end of an almost a football field, and you're kind of underground. You're in this covered concrete cave, right? And you hit a wall, and then that wall, it's an entire wall, but in the back wall are these ports. There's these holes, okay, on the walls of different sizes, right? It all get kind of different areas. Like, I had to climb up on something to get in one. There was a lot, like waist level, but there were some like 4 or 5 feet in the air, some like 7, 8 feet in the air. There was all these different holes, right? So me and my buddies start crawling in them, and of course I'm the smallest and the littlest of us all. So we're crawling underground for about an hour or two, and we get to a place where it's like a dead end, right? There's like it gets too small for them to get in, go any further, but I can because I'm smaller and skinnier, and so they say, "Oh, f that," but I go on and I crawl another 5, 10 feet, and I come to uh, where I could keep going this way. I could keep going straight, or I went and I made a left, and I wind up in this room. Okay, I'm in this room, and like I'm wondering how many people ever possibly could have been in this room. You got to think we're on our elbows, climbing like this underground for hours, right? And so by the time I got to this one room, like there was nothing in there. Like some of the other along the path was, I remember there was some wrappers, like there was like cigarette butts. There was like hinting and trails of people. But I got to this one room where I could only get in there by myself, like there was nothing. It felt like it felt like it had never been touched and whatnot. Hang on, my wife's calling. I guess that's good enough for now. Love all you guys. I'll finish the story at another time. Thanks.